This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, you have no honor!
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that has been disowned from the Empire. My name is Gep, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host, Dr. Izix.
Hi!
And this week, we have Klingons.
Yes. Full frontal Klingon everywhere!
Or than not, I don't think ever. Someone's drawn it, but it's not in this episode.
Yeah, we've gotten partial frontal Klingon. Anyway.
I think we've gotten people taking their shirts off.
You haven't seen that episode, particular bit from Discovery then, have you?
No, I don't. I haven't kept up with Discovery.
Okay.
But by the time we get to Discovery, the Klingons don't look right. Something went wrong there.
Me and Van Velding have discussed this a little bit, that there's probably like 3 or 4 sort of Klingon sub-races going on at this point in time, or at least there was during the sort of TOS era. The ones that lost their forehead ridges, the ones that kept them, the ones that were like a weird offshoot where everything got kind of weird, and then the ones that show up in the Abrams movies.
Oof. we shouldn't have to explain these things. Everything being connected has ruined TV.
Alternatively, it's just costume and makeup choices. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. You don't understand how much continuity has ruined creativity. We're not allowed to do anything different because somebody in the 80s made a creative decision that was limited by their makeup effects.
Though I do appreciate the idea of basically a version of all of these guys, different makeup, just hanging out, and none of them really commenting on it. Like, yeah, this is normal. This is fine, actually.
Yeah, they should.
Don't worry about it.
They already covered it. The only thing we needed was the one line from DS9 where they go, "We do not discuss this with outsiders." That's all you needed. That's it. Yes. And then everything else would have been fine. Stop trying to explain things. I'm not even mad. I'm not mad that Discovery changed the Klingons. I'm mad that the Klingons look ugly as fuck. I think it's a bad Klingon design.
They eventually get their hair back, but you know.
Yeah, I know. They start to improve a little, but you're working from a bad start. I'm sure someone did a lot of work on that. It looks like a very complicated makeup, but I hate it aesthetically.
Yeah, it's sometimes putting in some limitations is a good idea to keep you from kind of going crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Klingons.
There's only so far you can go. If you're just going to do people in suits, you either do non-humanoid or you do people in suits. Like, if you're going to do people in suits, make them look like people in suits.
Right.
Anyway,
there are easy ways to do this. And there are hard ways and silly ways.
Used to just be costuming. They just wore gold, and that was it. That's how you knew a Klingon, right there.
Sometimes a bandolier.
So this is the episode Sins of the Father, which is the first time that we get into, like, next generation and Klingon shit.
Like, all the way it's supposed to sort of a light sampling. Like,
yeah, we get these little bits. Like Worf likes honor, and there's the ritual of whatever it is where he pain sticks. But this is like space drama. This is Dune has been happening in the corner, and no one told me.
Yep. There's houses and some sort of council of houses, and there's like rules that are obscure because we haven't been introduced to them yet.
Yeah, you can do a lot of work that way. It's like, what is the difference between Dune, where there's a written 7,000 year history of how the Padishah Empire's line of succession worked, and the Klingon, I'm making it up as I go along, so it's obscure, because either way, you aren't hearing about it.
Yep. And there's a couple things I'll be talking about eventually. I'm not sure about if at this episode or a later one, about sort of the sometimes the rules change for the game halfway through anyway. So yeah.
But that's just politics. Haha.
Yeah. We've passed an amendment to the Klingon Constitution of Umpireness. How'd you do that? I stabbed a guy.
Yeah. I stabbed him with the bill. And you write the amendment on your knife and you throw it at a guy.
If he dies, it passes.
It's like, oh, wound, stuck in committee. All right, we're doing Sons of the Father. This is the one where Worf has to go home. We introduce his brother, who I just love. It's because I love this actor. It's amazing. Yes. This was written by Drew. Damn it. Why is your name spelled like this, Drew?
Dihang?
Yeah. Drew Dihang, who will also write Reunion, which is the sequel to this episode. It was teleplayed from his story by Ronald D. Moore and W. Reed Marin, who are deeply involved in Klingon stuff from this era. They do that. They both also worked on MacGyver and Baywatch. So other things that you may have heard of.
Well, Drew, his things he's done other than this is actually a little bit of acting. He was in he was a bartender in The Bold and the Beautiful once, and was a paramedic in The Return of the Living Dead.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the worst time to be a paramedic. The patient bit me.
Oh no.
We do have some guest stars. 3 to be precise that I'm talking about, because there are like 40 people in this episode.
Yes. Well, there's maybe 4 that I would talk about, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I just couldn't find a lot about one of them, so kind of got left. She kind of got left out a little bit. So Charles Cooper is playing Kempik.
We've run into him before, I believe.
Yeah. He's got a long career. In the 1950s, he was on a lot of Westerns. He was in Gunsmoke, Tales of Wells Fargo, The Rifleman, made appearances on Perry Mason.
Guess what, Gepwin? He was in The FBI.
Oh my God, again. And he also played the Klingon General Chorus in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Indeed. Just why I mentioned the FBI, because I think I did that back then.
Yeah, you did. You were really on the FBI for the movie episodes.
Yes.
Which confused all of our guest stars.
But that's all right. It's confused me too.
Then we have another person who we talked about, who is amazing. The amazing Tony Todd, who is playing Kern.
Yes.
He made his film debut in Platoon before playing Kern. He's best known for the titular character in the Candyman franchise, which I didn't know, and now I have to watch those movies.
Go for it.
I read a whole thing about the weird interracial politics of that movie series, and then the remake, and it sounds interesting if fraught. Yeah. Anyway, he was also in The Man from Earth, which is one of the earlier movie episodes we did. Still one of my favorite sci-fi movies. He's really great in that.
He was also in Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, did he bite somebody?
We got zombies back all over today, apparently.
Klingon zombies.
The X-Files, Law and Order. He shows up again in Deep Space Nine, also as Kern.
Yeah.
And adult Jake Sisko, oddly enough.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Take a little bit of forehead makeup and you never recognize the guy.
Indeed.
And then the last person who I could find reasonable amounts of information on is Patrick Massett as Duras. This is one of his only acting roles. He spent most of his career as a writer and producer. He was producing Friday Night Lights, the Battlestar Galactica's spin-off Caprica. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he was one of the writers for the Lara Croft Tomb Raider film, which is significantly better than Caprica.
Yeah, I tried to watch Caprica, but it's like, wow, this is some interesting stuff, but there's also some stuff that just I have no interest in. So
yeah, I feel like taking your hard-hitting, what is a man, cyborg, rise of technology thing, and then mixing it with like CW high school drama is not working.
Not a good mix. No. He was also in Quantum Leap, Renegade, and there's something called Star, a TV movie. I don't know.
Never heard of that.
Now, we do have the Thelma Lee, who plays Kaylest, who's only in it for a little bit of the episode.
I could find little about her, so if you found more stuff.
Her first appearance was actually 1962 on The Ed Sullivan Show, and then she didn't do anything for a while. Yeah.
That's probably why I couldn't find a lot. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, one-off side background characters, whatever, and various, random things now and then. She was in They Live, Doogie Howser, MD, Future Shock, Love Boat, The Next Wave. Sorry, I almost killed you there, Capwood.
I see what you did there. Haha, Love Boat.
Yeah, so sort of a background character, side character, sort of actress here. So yeah, not surprised you didn't find much. It's just sort of a light spattering of things.
That's it. There are also 10 billion council members, a bunch of random Klingon dudes, a couple of assassins, transporter guy.
PJ Davis is back again, and he's been in lots of random roles in Star Trek. So he's playing somebody in this episode.
Now, jumping in, the Enterprise is doing that officer exchange thing that they did in Matter of Honor. But this time,
neat.
Klingons are coming.
Excellent. Will we also get to send one of our own people over there?
It seems like that as exchange is not the right word.
Yeah.
It seems like it's an officer loan.
Yeah. Well, this could be interesting. How will a Klingon, fit in with the Federation procedure rules fetishes?
I know, he's just not allowed to kill anyone. So.
Yeah.
So Klingons coming to take on the first officer position. Commander Kern arrives to work immediately. No talking, no tour, to bridge. Off we go.
It's time to bridge it up and, hey, White Riker, I'm as tall as you, or maybe taller. So I'm in charge now. Wow.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they had to give him lifts. I don't know if Tony Todd is actually taller than Frakes or not.
No, he's pretty tall all the same.
Yeah, they're both pretty tall, though, so I kind of wonder now. So Kern gives a big speech about how he's a strict commander, and he will be hard on them. That is all. I will beat you to death. And then he yells his way through getting them to the next star system.
Yep. I do appreciate how he kind of causes Wesley to completely find himself panicked forever now.
Yep. It's like, oh my God, somebody yelled at me. Shit.
He's ordering me to do things. Yes, sir. Okay. Oh.
Now, later, Riker talks to Wesley and 10 forward because Kern doesn't like anything that he does. And then Geordi shows up and he also hates Kern because he was hard on them in engineering. The only person who he's being nice to is Worf, who he's being condescendingly polite to.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Is it just because you're a Klingon, or is there maybe something else going on? I don't know. Worf's too good at his job, and you're making fun of him for it.
Maybe. He's also just this is I know because he's a really good actor. The way that he just delivers this angry condescension. Mr. Worf, do you think you could run a scan? Oh, very good, Mr. Worf. You did that excellently well.
Thanks. It's weird.
So Riker tries to have a talk with Kern to suggest that maybe he needs to adjust his behavior a little bit for the crew because, they're humans. And he's not on a Klingon ship. Kern counters that he has adjusted his behavior because Riker's not dead.
Yep. Yeah, by trying to be all oh, I can offer you advice here. You're basically challenging my leadership, and I haven't stabbed you for that.
Yeah. I'd be well within my rights to kill you on a Klingon ship. So they go to dinner with senior officers. Kern remarks on the unpalatability of human food.
Well, he's still willing to try out this fancy pants stuff, but
he takes
it's this is hard, man. No real Klingon could really eat this kind of stuff. Hey, Worf, what you doing?
He has the best line in here that I wanted to highlight. How long has this bird been dead? In reference to a cooked chicken.
Yes.
And then he takes caviar and smears it on the chicken with his hands.
It's okay, I don't know how to eat this stuff, so I'll take this delicacy and put it here, I guess. Food.
So after dinner, Worf goes to Kern to ask, what the hell is your problem, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Kern goes, I wanted to see if your heart was still Klingon, because actually, I am your long-lost brother.
Dun, dun, dun. It's not even season 7.
I know. This is like some soap opera shit. Every time the Klingons show up, it's just a frickin' soap opera. I am your brother. I was in a coma for 5 years. Now I have amnesia.
My brain was replaced by this other Klingon's brain.
I don't even know. That's got to be some soap opera, but I don't know what.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people sometimes bring up as to make fun of it, but I don't actually know if it's ever actually happened. So people who watch soap operas, let us know.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of weird, supernaturally something soap operas, so maybe.
I mean, Dark Shadows was a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's vampires.
Yeah, vampires. There's one with witches. I don't know if there's been much sci-fi ones. Maybe there's just not as much crossover.
Oh, we're watching it.
So he is here because their dead father has been accused of being a traitor to the Empire. And Worf needs to go fix it.
What? Traitor to the Empire? He's dead. How could they do this at this point? What? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. How dare he decompose in that manner? So it turns out that when Worf and his parents left for the Kittimer colony, Kern was left behind with a family friend. And when the news came back that the Kittimer colony had been attacked, they thought that everyone was dead, so they decided to just adopt Kern and didn't tell him his true origins until his age of ascension.
Yeah, so when he was 3, which we'll find out later.
Yeah. So Worf informs Picard of his intentions to return home to defend his father's honor. Also, if he fails to prove his father's innocence, he will be executed. So good luck with that.
Yeah, so bye, Captain.
So Picard decides that he can't let Worf go alone, so he brings an entire starship to the Klingon homeworld.
Well, Picard's a savvy operator in terms of diplomacy and things like that, and having shows of force is something that the Klingons appreciate, independent of what it is.
Yeah.
And, maybe he's just bored of scanning asteroids or whatever they were doing today.
Yeah, no one knows what they were doing. They didn't even say. We are in the system to scan an asteroid. It's boring as fuck. I hope somebody tries to assassinate one of my senior officers.
Oh, there we go. Let's leave. And I suspect that either that they're relatively close to the Klingon border anyway, because they're picking up Kern.
Yeah, they're always relatively close to the Klingon border.
Yeah, it's like the Klingons just sort of are in the same place as the Federation, but not somehow. Maybe space is 3 dimensions. Oh gosh!
Oh no, yeah, that would be weird.
I might make map making difficult in the future.
I mean, having been playing some No Man's Sky again recently, I can tell you that 3-dimensional maps have not been figured out. No one can do this.
Yeah, there's maybe a relational structure you can sort of do to abstract things, but even then, you run into problems of if you go too far away, you have 15 different ways to get from point A to point B that are effectively equivalent.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, some business to take care of before they get there. Worf makes Kern his Chadich, which now that just sounds like something from Dune.
Yes. Your Kwisatz Chadich.
Yeah. Forget, was the what was Paul's other name? So the Moadib and there's something longer.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the Kwisatz Haderach, but
yeah, but that's what the Bene Gesserit called him. There was something else that the Fremen called him.
Oh, I'm not remembering it right off the top of my head here either. Drat. Yeah. Leave it in the comments.
I knew I should have watched Dune 2. I still watch the sci-fi miniseries.
Yeah, I think I got that on a DVD somewhere.
All right, so basically it's his bodyguard, second in command sort of thing, because while Worf is administering a challenge, he is forbidden to carry weapons or do combat, because they want to make it really easy to assassinate the guys who are doing challenges, I guess.
There might be a sort of, a faux pas against, assassinating the person doing the challenge, but you can also, intimidate them by killing everyone else around them, including their Chadich. So, good luck, Kern.
So Worf, Kern, Picard, and Riker come down to confront the Klingon High Council. The High Counselor Kempek is in charge, ostensibly. He mostly just sits in the middle and lets people yell at him, and apparently goes, ugh.
It's the point of Klingon politics where you can be sort of a lazy bastard and just sort of hang out on a seat and growl at people, and people will do what you say.
Yeah. It's the best leadership position ever. So you just sit on a chair and get drunk. It's like, what should we do? It's like, yes, sir. So Worf announces his intention to defend his father's name. Also, Picard is here, and Kempek respects that he has a commanding officer stuff.
It's like a character witness. Okay, I get it. Be quiet, though.
So Duras is here, and he's the one accusing Worf's dad, because Duras is his family's greatest rival.
Because, Duras's dad, who apparently died at Kidnapper 2, was a big rival of Moog, and apparently this has gone back some time.
Yeah, which is... It's interesting that it's still lasting, because as far as we know, Kern got adopted and nobody knows his lineage, and Worf is running around the other side of the galaxy. So why does Duras have any reason to still have a grudge? The Duras family has essentially won. Yeah,
they've won, but maybe there's something else going on here that's not so obvious. Like maybe someone's suggesting to Duras, it'd be kind of a good thing if, this Worf guy over here in the Federation maybe ruined his good name, and
Oh, yeah, there's some power behind the throne people who show up in later episodes.
Yeah. But, that's not today's episode.
So Duras contends that they found proof that the attack on Khitomer was a betrayal. The Romulans attacked and were sent defense codes. Moog's codes.
Dun, dun, dun.
His Worf's father's name. I don't think I mentioned that in this episode yet for people who have not been following along.
Yes, so he's Worf, son of Moog.
Oh, Picard. As the crew start working on gathering evidence about the Romulan attack on Khitomer. Worf is taken aside by the Chancellor, who tells him to leave. By the way, if you just, disappeared, no one would consider it dishonor. We wouldn't even know where to find you.
Yeah.
By the way.
So you're telling me to abandon my Klingon honor so that we could just sweep this under the rug and everything will be okay?
No. No dishonor would fall on you for some reason. Never mind. Shush.
I don't know. I'm Worf. I'm kind of really into Klingon culture stuff here, and this is maybe something I'm going to take seriously.
You can tell in any of these episodes, the entire council sees Worf show up and says, "Oh fuck, this guy knows what he's talking about. Get the books." We haven't had to use this fucking ancient law in 5 millennia. Now this douchebag shows up.
Man. Anytime one of our dudes hangs out at the Federation too long, they become rules lawyers.
Meanwhile, Kern called to a secret meeting. As it turns out, it was with Duras, who says he knows that Kern is the son of Moog, and they should leave. Kern refuses, and then the meeting was also apparently with 2 assassins, who start stabbing.
Well, Kern's dead, apparently.
Or except they get him to sickbay, because Crusher's able to save him with science magic.
And also, Kern is super regenerative or something like that.
Yeah, he's a Klingon, and they didn't stab him in both hearts and all 3 lungs.
Yes. So, he'll be better.
And then decapitate him, and then bury him with a sprig of garlic in his mouth at a crossroads.
And put up a weird cairn overhead to make sure to warn off people.
Yeah, all that. The Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Klingons.
And then you have to take the entire county where, you buried him and just erase it from the map forever. So,
Yeah. So Worf's upset because Duras knows who Kern is, and now they'll both be executed.
That's not good.
Data has discovered the allegations against Moog, though. They're based on a captured Romulan ship that shows a communication from Khitomer just before the attack. They compare the information to logs from the nearest Federation starship to the attack when it occurred, and discover irregularities and inconsistencies in the record that indicate they have been falsified.
So, is this enough evidence to get this whole weird preemptive conviction overturned for Worf?
Maybe. Probably not, though, because the Klingons are probably like, what? Data? We hate that.
Yeah, we either have like stuff that was turned in 3 weeks ago as evidence that we could, eventually get around to reading, or stabbings, and you only got stabbings left over at this point. So.
I cannot stab your science.
Yeah.
So Picard and Worf talk about how they may not know what's going on, but they know that someone is hiding something. And the Chancellor is hiding something, because otherwise he wouldn't have asked Worf to leave.
Yeah, so, the Chancellor is at least aware of what's going on. Is he hiding something for himself? Is he secretly, holding power here by manipulating the Council to back him up and, deter challengers to his power for years on end?
Maybe, probably. Is he a changeling? We'll find out later. Tune in next time on DS9. So, with Kurn incapacitated, Worf asks Picard to be his new Chadich.
Which is kind of interesting, because at one level, you think that, I need someone who's tough and powerful and who is experienced with Klingon stuff. That's going to be like Riker, right?
Yeah. Or my thing that they should always do, there's definitely one person on this ship who could beat Worf in a fight, hands down, easily, without even trying. Ask Data.
Yep.
No one's going to stab Data.
And if they do, well, it's going to be a bad time for them, because their knife's going to be broken, and he's going to grab their arm and just kind of twist it until they're like, oh, I give up.
Yeah. Data's basically indestructible by the ways that the Klingons are trying to kill each other right now, so...
But I guess Picard does have, a little bit of a best of both worlds, you could say, in that, he knows some Klingon stuff, and he's part robot due to his artificial heart.
That's true. But we don't get to best of both worlds until the end of the season.
Well, I'm just preambling that a little bit. So, obviously, if there's Klingon assassins, they're going to go for his heart, and since it's made out of metal, they can't kill Picard. It's as easy as that, right?
Like I said, it looks like a giant bag.
Yeah.
When we see the thing. So hopefully it's made of something good.
Worf's probably never actually seen it. So.
Anyway, the main thing is that this is important for the only reason Klingons think anything is important. Symbolism.
Symbolism.
Worf moves to the next part of the trial. Crusher finds there was another survivor of the Khitomer attack, a woman named Celeste, which sounds a lot like Kalis. I don't know why they love that name so much.
They're ancient hero, but this is like the female version of the name or something.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. We have a lot of people named after ancient heroes.
Mm-hmm. Heck, for all we know, Worf, son of Moog, has 3 extra names in there, and 2 of them are Kalis.
Yeah,
so.
Probably. Picard runs off to find her in the old quarter, which looks, I guess, is like Klingon slums. It's just blockhouses in the dark with things just randomly on fire.
Yeah, that's how they do public lighting in the Klingon Empire.
Yeah. This is our public display of fire. Over here we have some decorative fire. This is lighting fire. This is decorative fire. Yeah,
the lighting fire, keeps our streets safe, and the decorative one, makes it raises the property values. So
it's just a general air of ominous vibes. Yeah, got to make sure that people know that if they lean on the wrong wall, they will die.
Yes.
Klingon kind of way.
I guess in some ways it gives sort of a late 1800s London vibe too, as a result. Except, all the fires are open instead of in lampposts.
Yeah. So is that somebody's job? Is there a brazier lighter?
Maybe.
Plying my trade. And the brazier lighter was plying his trade. Whoosh.
Not all the Klingons can be warriors, so you need a job for somebody who's not physically able or mentally able or unwilling to stab people. You can light things on fire instead.
Yeah, I will bring honor to my neighborhood with flame.
There you go.
So Picard finds Worf's nurse. She was there with the attack. She just keeps saying she's dead. I can't do anything to help. I'm dead. Bye.
Well, being dead does mean people probably won't try to kill you in the future, so that's good.
We'll leave you alone. Picard leaves, is immediately attacked by 2 assassins. He takes one out, and then is penned by the other, who then gets stabbed in the back by Celeste.
Oh, thank you. Let's go stab some more people. Let's go to the council chambers and solve the problem.
Yeah. This was a really quick turnaround, though. Mm-hmm. She goes immediately from, sorry, I will do nothing to help you. I am dead and died a long time ago, to, oh yeah, I'll kill a guy for you.
Yeah. Maybe it is sort of a, oh no, I'm going to be like double dishonored if I don't like help this guy, like at least fend off the assassins.
Yeah. I think it's just a Klingon thing. It's like, what's in it for me? Oh, killing.
Yeah, all right, I'm in.
So Duras is just finishing up his arguments, and Kimpak is just about to sentence Worf to death when Picard arrives with Celeste, and Kimpak immediately calls a recess and sends them into their chambers.
Because apparently, Celeste, mentions before that she has some history with this guy, so he's obviously going to recognize her.
Yeah, he always wanted to fuck her.
Yeah.
So they will not be hearing new evidence. This isn't how any of this was supposed to go. Damn.
Huh. Oh, so the trial's fixed from the get-go.
Yeah. Turns out that it was actually Duras' father who was the traitor. But Duras is popular and powerful for some reason. He's a douche, but I guess that doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, if you get enough douches together, they'll support you if you promise to support douches.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunately true.
Seems like a weird current in current American politics.
Huh. Maybe somebody should dishonor his family. Anyway. I don't think he's doing too good a job at that himself. Anyway, the council would be plunged into civil war if they tried to arrest Duras.
Well, civil war, that sounds bad. We should probably try to avoid that.
So Worf goes, hey, well, I don't know. It's not too bad. It's a pretty good arc.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite arcs is the Klingon Civil War.
Mine too, actually. But in the here and now, they're like, oh, that'd be bad. Let's avoid that and not have all the stuff that happens in that.
Until later, when we can write better. I guess they need to establish a little more Klingon shit before they can have the wonderful Klingon War two-parter.
Yes.
So Worf agrees that he will be killed for the Empire, but they need to let his brother live. Duras goes, nope, sorry, no loose ends.
Because if Worf dies, then Kurn's gonna be like, oh, I'm now justified to kill you because you killed my brother. So you know.
blood oath, etc. Yeah. Soon, everyone in the Empire has just been stabbed.
Yeah,
it does seem like a flaw in the system.
I guess the idea is you keep stabbing each other until someone loses their honor, in which case they can't stab people anymore.
Yeah. This is essentially the like plot of the Vengeance Factor, but from the other end, where we don't think any of this is wrong.
Yeah.
Worf agrees to a fate worse than death. Discommodation.
Oh, I thought they were going to put him on Enterprise.
No.
Sorry, Jesse.
Duras agrees, and the Council and every Klingon in attendance and Kurn turn their back on Worf as he leaves the Great Hall.
So he's been discommoded, so they get to ignore him now.
Yeah.
Now, I will point out that the council here, has varied representation in terms of gender here. So, the later comments about who can and can't be on the council, that might be something that hasn't happened yet. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know why they have to introduce sexism later.
Because Gowron's sexist, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, Gowron can decide who's on the council later.
Poor Worf, he's been stripped of his official honor certificate, but by trying to save the Empire from a civil war and to maintain his being alive and his brother being alive, to maybe someday clear up this whole honor business here, he has maintained his internal honor.
Yeah, he gets to do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny when you see they're butting heads so much because Worf believes in all of this shit and Duras and the Chancellor just don't, and they're like, sorry, not good enough. He's like, come on, play ball here. I'm trying to save your fucking Empire.
There's definitely different types of honor going on here, and still Duras doesn't really have anything except the official stamped on his driver's license honor because he plays nicely in the right ways at the right time.
Yeah.
While being kind of a sniveling coward the entire rest of the time.
I know the general tone of basically all of the Klingon episodes is government officials are stupid and corrupt bastards.
Kinda.
It's not until way later. You get some stuff in like DS9 once like they get Martok taking over and he's just like tired of doing paperwork and shit. But
yeah. But Martok sees himself as a soldier, not a politician. So
which is just like the conclusion of this political arc that they're doing. It took them a long time to get there, but eventually they get around to the only ones fit to hold power are those who do not want it.
Which, is maybe something that, has a bit of wisdom in it, that those who seek power are potentially, doing so for corrupted means, and so are more open to be corrupted.
Yeah, possibly. A lot of people are. There's different things. There's definitely reasons to seek power because you are in a group or sympathize with a group that is facing injustice and you want to do something about that.
Indeed.
But yeah, you also have the I'm powerful because I deserve to be powerful people.
There's even people that, I'm going to go into politics because I actually, have an idealism here, and, there might be lots of corrupt people, in that world, but I'm going to do what I can to avoid the temptations and try to actually serve. And obviously for the Klingons, they don't have enough of those folks.
Yeah. Well, we're still having the same problem. They don't do as much in here, but like actually they do a little. They don't do it as explicitly in this episode, but all these political things wind up into the same sort of neoliberal trap that all of the stuff in the 90s falls into. Mm-hmm. That the problem is the people running the thing. It's not the inherent biases and fundamental structural issues of the system itself.
Yeah, it can't be that we have a weird, semi-feudalistic state here with a landed aristocracy. It's that that we got the wrong aristocracy in place here.
Which is it's kind of weird if you think about it, that we are so committed to the neoliberal idea of the system is fine, the only problem is the person in charge, which is a fundamentally conservative idea. I'm forgetting the philosopher. There was a fundamental conservative philosopher who had that as the general principle. There are some people who deserve to lead. Having them in charge makes everything good. If anybody who doesn't deserve to lead or is one of the natural subservients of the world winds up in charge, everything goes bad. That is the entire founding philosophy of modern conservatism.
And it's a terrible premise. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. If you know the name,
yeah, it's such a nebulous idea. I don't even know how I would look it up right now. So.
Yeah.
But we're so committed to that general idea. Even ostensive liberals are so committed to that idea that in something like this, where you have a literal, like, feudal state, we don't want to criticize any form of government. You could definitely use this as but we need to make the Klingons democratic, which you might have in TNG. Or you might have in the original series, you might have had but the thing wrong with the Klingons is their lack of freedom and good old American values.
Yeah. And
now we're in a much less of a interventionist era in the 90s. We will get back to it later, but at this point, we're in a little bit of a less of an interventionist mode.
They're fine doing their own thing, and that's A-okay, and it's not any of our fault that if we do nothing, if they continue with this horrific system and just toil forever and everyone dies.
Yeah, we're in the middle of everything's basically fine. We won the Cold War. The world has acquiesced to our demands, and so we don't need to worry about interventionism at this point. Later on, when we get to the early 2000s, we get back to spread democracy for the good of all. But right now we're in maybe we can let the guys across the street do their own thing. We might have to instill a friendly leader from time to time, but that's just putting the right people in charge.
And unfortunately, that particular vibe does come back in Discovery, oddly enough, with the Klingons.
So at this point, we have what is fundamentally and demonstrably a broken system that has to literally sacrifice someone in order to keep the whole thing running, because you have a person who is so corrupt that getting rid of them would collapse the entire thing. And we don't want to criticize the system. We want to go, maybe there's something wrong with some of these guys.
Can't convince the folks in charge of things, to step aside and rework their system. We can't, let them kill each other and, encourage a pro-democracy sort of movement from the people because, well, that would be insulting our friends in the High Council. We can't be, basically washing our hands entirely of the situation because, we have to maintain a certain level of engagement. And, if we don't do that, then they'll see us as dishonorable fools or something, I guess. So I guess we have to play nice with them and their corruption.
The thing that I have never quite gotten with this, aside from, I know the necessity from a story angle. They didn't want to introduce something so big as a completely destabilizing civil war in one of your main allied races.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Worf in this is a weird turn for this kind of idealism. And possibly it's just a misplaced idealism of the idea of the Klingon Empire as a structure. I think this is illustrative and educational as to where people get into some of these flawed ideas. You can believe in the structure so much that you will ignore its fundamental problems. Mm-hmm. If you follow through Worf's general idealism of valuing honor and Klingon cultural practices above all, he should have outed Duras immediately.
Yeah.
He should have gone and stood in front of the council and gone, it was Duras's father, actually, and then stabbed him in the throat.
Yeah. So there's been a counterclaim made. All right, now it's that full fight to the death situation. Have at it.
But instead you get sucked into the idea that the thing itself is good. The idea of the Empire in and of itself is good. And anything that destabilizes it is bad. So actually you shouldn't keep up your individual idealism. Idealism is stupid.
You can only have so much idealism, and if you go past a certain point, well, it's just not acceptable anymore. We're going to be, or maybe it's more like a conflicting idealism, because if he's super gung-ho about the rituals and things like that, and he's also gung-ho about the Empire being a thing, well, then he's at conflict, oh no, or something, and so the power that be has to win out because.
I think I have a personal thing with this idea, because when I was younger, I really fell into the idea of police worship. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a great idea. A bunch of top of their game, highly trained people who are there to keep order and respond in the worst of situations.
Yeah, that sounds like a wonderful idea that they're here to keep people safe and all that.
And then the more that I learned, I looked into it. I was planning on that as a possible career path. I looked into it. I went to some of the young person events. The more people that I met and actually knew and actually found out about, even before a lot of the problems with the police were widely publicized, the more disillusioned it became, because that is not who is there at all. And that is not how the thing works. And they are all defending each other, doing terrible things that are against the basic idea that they are supposedly there for, because of the idea that they're there for. We have to undermine the idea of protecting the people, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to protect the people.
So, there's a bit of another contradiction going on here. And so we got, situations where the, quote, thin blue line has police basically lying through their teeth to protect their fellows or coming to their aid, even if, it's pretty clear-cut case that, this guy, has been abusing his power in some fashion. And so you get this situation where, if you ever sort of break ranks there, it's basically the police admitting, that maybe we're a little corrupt and, independent of maybe doing something about that. By admitting this, we have revealed that we don't actually believe the thing that we keep telling people.
Yeah, which falls into this split. I could have very easily gone down the other way and gone, well, the institution is important, so anything that we do to protect the institution is justified. But instead I became too much of an idealist and went, well, if this is the thing that we say we're doing is to do a lot of stuff to help and protect people, and you're not doing that, then the thing that you're doing is wrong, and the institution is now useless.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of a different example, but from my own experience. So I'm generally very pro-democracy. Having people's having a voice in government is a good thing because, well, people are fallible, but people having a government that is unresponsive to the needs of the people, in sort of aggregate there, is generally going to lead to bad outcomes in the long run. So that's sort of some of my own idealism there, and I was it was 2008 elections. I was talking to someone from another country. I'll reveal which one in a little bit here. About the kind of weird way we do the primaries in the United States. They're basically terrible. Independent party, there are parties that do them a lot better than others. Of my own research, I've looked into, all right, how does the Democrats, how do the Republicans do it, how do the third parties like Libertarians, Green Party, and a few others do it, if they do it at all. Which one of these is kind of the better? And in the end, the Democratic Party does tend to have the best primary system on the lot. But I was also telling this person that, there is a lot of stuff that could be improved about the system to make it not ridiculous. And what more, we also have this thing called Electoral College, which is also ridiculous. And the United States is often cheered on as, the icon and beacon of democracy in the world. But I'm here going, sure, okay, but there's a lot of problems we could structurally fix to make things better and more democratic. And so the gal I was talking to from China is like, what, you're criticizing your democracy? I thought the Americans were supposed to be like, democracy is just good and ours is great. And I'm like, well, you could still like something but want the version that we have to be better. And you as an outside perspective here, you might not be sort of exposed to some of our internal thoughts about all of this here, that maybe the system that we have is not perfect, this is, we have, I'll personally have, critiques of the Chinese system, because it's basically a one-party state with, various power playing and corruption involved, and keeping regional parties and the like existing and getting members in their legislature, but never actually having any power. And there's lots of structural problems in their system, and so I will be happy to critique that all day. But I was but it was kind of a surprise that to someone from that system to see me being so critical of the United States system when compared to theirs, it's like night and day in terms of actual democracy.
Well, also we put forth such a institutional worship idea into the world, where we're not allowed to question our institution, even though the only thing that would keep something like a democracy going for very long is to call out and change when it becomes increasingly undemocratic.
Indeed.
It's not a contradiction to question a system that is ostensibly one thing when it starts doing something else.
Yes. And so that was the sort of thing I was trying to, convey at that point. Because it's like, oh, yeah, you are from a different, perspective in all of this. And, we talked a bit about, just sort of how systems versus sort of appearances of systems, is, both sometimes very contradictory, but also matter in terms of how you're trying to, argue for or against things. And, well, obviously I'm a certain side of all this here, so appearances can be pretty wacky-o.
Yeah, we get a bad view of every other system too. So I can see how anyone outside of the US would be like, but all you guys talk about is how terrible we are in relation to you.
Well, that might be something we do, but our own system is kind of terrible, but there's also plenty of people that will say it's perfect forever and should never change or get better. So
yeah, except they want to change it a lot because I guess someone fucked it up, or I don't know. The people who say it should never change really want to change things.
Yeah. I've done a YouTube video about the American Exchange Council, or the Legislation Council, and or American Legislation Exchange Council. There we go. ALEC, and how terrible they are in terms of trying to engineer state-based changes to the American system, as well as the numerous types of attempts to change the Constitution via state-based amendments to the same, and how there's been a sort of uptick of late of, we're just going to have a vague, we want to kind of maybe rewrite the entire Constitution from the ground up sort of things, and we're not going to settle on what our actual plan is there until we actually have a convention that's passed, because we don't want to advertise what our plan is, so...
Yeah, well, I might agree in some ways that we could rewrite some of that old stupid thing. They're all the ones saying that we should treat it as basically a holy document.
Yeah, but yet it's weirdly like Louisiana, a very conservative state in terms of governance, that was passed one of these, I believe, if I remember correctly. Maybe it's Arkansas, I forget. Then it's sort of like, yes. Our previous ones were like, we want to institute a line item veto on for budget items and limit taxes and things like that. And now we've since those didn't go anywhere, we just want to set up one that's just whatever we feel like.
Hooray!
It's like, all right, well, if you would like to reform the Constitution, I would like to know what your plan is. We're not going to tell you. Well, I'm suspicious. So, there are folks that sometimes want reform that is maybe potentially very toxic to having, a better system. But they tend to be quiet about what they're doing there. Kind of like Duros, actually.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting to look at, like, the way that they show these kinds of political systems. This is actually... not too far off from our original political system, because one of the reasons that the US's government is going to complete shit is because the only reason that it ever worked is because it was designed around the idea that the entire government was run by the old boys network who all knew each other and were friends.
And whenever that old boys network changes to something that is maybe more interested in establishing more of a explicit aristocracy, that can cause problems.
Yeah. Also, once not every single person in the involved in the government is the same 5 people, you run into these problems. Like, there's no law against this. We just never thought anyone would do it because it's just not done.
Yep. Oh no, you've broken norms again. No one could have imagined.
Yeah, they couldn't, because they all knew each other. They were all cousins.
Yep.
They all married each other's sisters or whatever.
So yeah, it got a little weird. Sometimes I stumble across YouTube channels about, what if the United States did have a king and it was George Washington? Who would be king now? And it's like, oh yeah, and so it goes through, this person over here potentially, and oh yeah, this means that the Lees, aka the family of Robert E. Lee, would one of them, maybe even himself, would have been king of the United States, and that sounds like a terrible thing. And so on and so forth. It's like, yeah, this this semi-aristocracy oligarchy sort of thing can lead to some just generally terrible people running things, and yeah.
Well, I think the main thing, I keep thinking about this the more people talk about lifelong terms and wanting dictatorships again, etc. One of the primary things that people don't think about with a representative system is the ability for someone to be voted out is a far superior mode of governance to the old system, which was if someone who is in for life starts doing a bad job, you really only have one option.
Death.
Because there's a whole thing about serving for life, and it's that you have to kill them to get them out of there. And that happened a lot.
Yeah.
People act like nobody ever changed kings or anything. It's like, no, we changed kings all the time. The kings were not big fans of the process.
Yes. It's like, oh, our Stewart Kings here. This one's a jerk face like his grandfather was. What are we gonna do about him? Well, we have an axe, and his head can come off his body. So let's get to it. Yeah. I guess the whole stabbing thing that the Klingons do, being sort of institutionalized, is sort of an evolution of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like they institutionalized the lifelong assignments.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to get promoted, but if the captain's doing a bad job,
then you're going to get that whole stabbing business going on here.
Does seem like a very good way to lose a lot of experienced people, but
yeah. And sometimes people who are physically fit, but are terrible leaders are going to end up in power, and that's just going to lead to disaster in time. I wonder if that guy who tried to lecture me about the philosopher Burke ever thought about that.
Probably not. People who try to lecture people about philosophers usually haven't thought of much.
Yeah. Well, he did think enough to mention that he has lots of guns at home, so,
Good for you.
That was important. Okay. That was important to the conversation about philosophy.
Yeah, good. Okay. Good for you, I guess.
Anyway, this sort of system, let's take some words from Captain Kirk and say, and rearrange them slightly and say, let it die. The Klingons can figure their own stuff out. Apparently they tried once according to Jadzia, but, Anyway.
The Klingons
I don't got much more.
Keep Klingoning. Yeah. So I guess we've rattled on about hypothetical governments and depressing real-world governments for long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Time for the galaxy's favorite game show!
Oh! Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show. We got some awards to hand out this time, and I keep having to dodge these knives being thrown at me. I wish the players would stop doing that. Anyway, let's get to our prizes. So, points up for Kern. He gets the Bros Before Captain's prize, because Kern gets in to be Worst Chadich before Picard does. So it's a temporal version of this award. Oh, what does he win, Gepwin?
Kern wins some functioning armor. I don't know why they all wear armor all the time that does nothing, because they keep getting stabbed.
Maybe the armor is intentionally to be useless. It's just like a uniform. Like it's actually made out of, placemats like those one guys. Kind of looks like it too some days.
It does.
Anyway. The next prize is the You Have No Honor prize, which goes to Duras because he's got none. Using his political influence to cover up the fact that his dad didn't either. What does Duras win in all of this, Kepwin?
Duras wins one of those things that was advertised on YouTube a lot before, that you can buy a square foot of land in Scotland and call yourself a lord, because at least it has some sort of claim to a title.
A landowner in Scotland. Duras, good luck with that. Especially with registering it with whoever is in charge of keeping track of titles there. Our last prize is the assignment death prize, which goes to Worf, because if he doesn't get this sorted out, he's going to get executed or something. Maybe, unless he decides otherwise. Anyway, what does he win, Gepwin?
Worf wins nothing that he's already got. He's got the best plot armor of any character in this series. Because everybody else just sort of conveniently doesn't die. Worf puts himself in these situations intentionally.
The only thing that gets pretty close to taking him out is a barrel, so,
That's true. Execution by room full of boxes.
So as long as he avoids the cargo base, he's going to be A-okay. That's all I got this weekend, Gepwin. Feel free to take us away, or maybe, I don't know, decommendate something here.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us as we cross our arms and turn away from the galaxy's favorite game show.
Woo! Da, 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 da.
All right, next time.
Next time.
What the hell episode is this? I can't even remember from this name. Where's my synopsis?
Allegiance.
Such a generic name.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, it's that one. It's the prison episode.
Yeah, this is an episode with a name that no one remembers because it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with what's happening.
It has nothing to do with what's happening.
It's like allegiance to your captain, independent of if he's been replaced by a doppelganger, maybe.
This episode.
Spoilers.
I have weird memories of this episode because I was at a more local Star Trek convention, which is always fun because when you go to the smaller local ones, they get the people who are not the big names. They always have at least one big name as a draw, but then they just get whoever is available. And they had one of the guys who played one of the aliens in this episode. And he had this whole story of, just being listed as Alien 1 and Alien 2 in the script. And he had no idea what his name was until somebody gave him an official trading card that said, second alien on the left.
That's wonderful. It's like you can't even take 10 seconds to just come up with Gorblat or something like that, or Mulapa.
Well, we'll get into the thing, but I guess it makes sense that these aliens wouldn't have a fundamental concept of names.
Fair enough, yeah, because they don't have a fundamental concept of a bunch of things. Actually,
yeah, they don't have a fundamental concept of individuality as an idea, so names kind of don't make sense. I see that.
Some sort of hive mind thing going on.
Sort of.
Oh no.
These things are so confusing that I get having something that's it's actually alien. It's beyond your comprehension. Great. That's one of the things we should be exploring. They should not be interacting with you in this way if they are purporting to be that different.
Yes.
They should not be able to talk to you like this.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you have a couple of them standing there. Maybe sometimes they just switch who's talking in the middle of the sentence, maybe, or because it's the same mind between them, and you're like, oh gosh, it's hard to keep track of what he's saying. Excuse me.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to see a good exploration of the way that individuality manifests itself in a being that is otherwise communal and non-individualized should go read Terry Pratchett's The Thief of Time.
Go for it, everybody.
They have a very good thing with that.
Then once you're done reading, come back and listen to the next episode.
Yeah, you've got a week. These are quick reads.
Maybe I should read more Pratchett.
You should. The entire series, I think, is on pay what you want on Humble Bundle as of a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it's still going.
Yes, so we get some bumpy forehead aliens with more bumps on them and even more bumps, and some other bumpy forehead aliens.
These ones do the thing where they have bumpy foreheads and funny nostrils.
Yeah. Like, how do they breathe? We don't know. With difficulty, probably.
Yeah, flute nose.
Coming in sideways.
The good old flute nose. Anyway, that's going to be Allegiance, which I will forget the name of by next week.
Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, the monolith. It's back! You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.